15 games last year, 105 targets, 59 receptions, 56% catch rate, 843 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Michael Gallup was out there running all the routes, playing all the snaps, but the average depth of target was huge. He was their vertical guy. And that did bear out in reception perception. If you pull up his route chart, not running a ton of slants, not running a ton of flat routes or screen routes, similar to what we just talked about with Gabe Davis. This guy is their vertical receiver. This guy's their best downfield threat when it comes to running go routes, when it comes to running the post, curls, comebacks, out routes, everything like that. He's running those patterns. But man, when you look at his overall success rates, especially because I always talk about this when it comes to players, like where they line up matters so much. What Michael Gallup is being asked to do versus what Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb is asked to do, very, very different. He's their best receiver against press because he's their X. 81st percentile score against press coverage. He's a key part of this receiver core. And I think that the huge gap, like basically in drafts right now, Lamb and Cooper are kind of going back to back, anywhere from wide receiver 11 to wide receiver 13. Right. They're kind of right around in that range. Gallup's down there like wide receiver 38, 39, 40. And that gap just doesn't really make a ton of sense to me because like we know he's not going to get replaced. It's not like Cedric Wilson or one of these other guys is going to pop up and take Michael Gallup's job. Like he is that true X receiver. I do think there has been whispers from Cowboys camp that they're going to move these guys around. And I'd be in favor of that, right? Like Michael Gallup running more slot routes, getting more layups. That's perfect because he can be that guy. He can get off press quickly and open up on curl routes, on comeback routes, like I said. And I think CeeDee Lamb can play the X receiver position because he is a really good natural separator. I think Cooper could play inside. Cooper's awesome when he's been a slot receiver in his career. He's been great. Yeah. So I would love to see these Cowboys receivers move around a little bit more. But I do think the fact that Michael Gallup is so good against press coverage and in contested situations, it's going to keep him primarily as their X receiver, which I do think is important for this offense.
You really could move all three of these guys around. CeeDee, look, I know CeeDee played almost exclusively inside last year, but I feel like he's got some traits that would allow him to kind of, maybe not be in the X, but at least certainly as a flanker would be kind of interesting. And Amari, again, like this is a guy that can kind of sort of play all over the field. I hear what you're saying about him, not being a great X receiver, but when you mix in all these different things that he can do, that is kind of sort of what I think unlocks the secret sauce that makes Amari Cooper a good player. It would surprise some people to know that CeeDee Lamb actually averaged more air yards per target than Amari Cooper did last year. Both of them were just north of 9 yards per target, air yards per target. And then, as you mentioned, Michael Gallup, their deep threat, averaged more than 12 air yards per target. When you start talking about air yards per target, anything north of 15, that's a ton. But for, primarily X receivers, 12 yards, air yards per target is, it's up there. It's not extremely high, but it's up there. So that's kind of sort of what we're looking at when we're talking about Michael Gallup.
Because I looked at 4 games for his sample with Dak Prescott and then 4 games without Dak Prescott. Like he's running a lot more goes, post, and stuff like that in those games with Dak. And I believe his air yards per target, average depth of target was up there, like even higher than that at that point too. So yeah, I mean, I think they did dial back some of that verticality for Michael Gallup, which is maybe a good sign, but it also could have been like, hey man, we've got Ben DiNucci and Andy Dalton back here. Like maybe having Michael Gallup run go routes all game's not the best idea.
77th against man and 81st against press. Boy, man, I don't know, man. Like again, his rookie year, I thought he was great. I thought he was fabulous.
Yeah,
I thought he really took a nice step forward. It just happened to be inconsistent target share. As you mentioned in your profile piece, he had to really run the most difficult routes out there in terms of all these goes, corners, and posts and everything. And yeah, I'm kind of sort of with you. The fact that you are getting a pretty significant discount on Michael Gallup in fantasy this year. He, to me, as you mentioned, in best ball, got to get him, right? Got to get him because he's going so late.
Yeah. For best ball, right? It makes so much sense because you can easily pick your favorite between Cooper and you probably can't get both because they're going so close to each other.
Right.
Pick your favorite one of those, stack it with Dak Prescott, run that thing back with Michael Gallup because he's going so late. You're just exposing yourself to so much upside on your roster there with that stack. This is probably the last year of this Cowboys trio. It's going to be because Michael Gallup's on the last year of his deal. Odds are Michael Gallup is on a new team come next season. If he has a big year this year, I would go trade for him in Dynasty right now because you're buying him at a very, very low cost. You can grab him right now. And then in the hopes that not only does he have a great year this year, but then is, potentially someone's number 2 or 1B receiver next year, because I do believe based on his perception, he is capable of being that guy.